On today's episode, we're helping you prep for your next professional photo shoot. We're chatting about what's in our photo shoot toolkits, how to style shots, and how to collaborate with your photographer.
Coming up later, Rebecca and I will play Who Would You Rather? Quarantine Edition and Kiss, Marry, Kill Photo Shoot Edition. Don't forget, you can share topics you'd like to see in future episodes on Instagram at Hot Young Designers Club or email us your ideas at hotyoungdesignersclub@gmail.com.
Hi, I'm Rebecca of Studio Plum.
And I'm Shaun of Renstead Interiors. We're interior designers
Turned internet friends.
turned real life friends.
Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
We're not that hot.
Or that young.
Every week, we'll be spilling the tea on how a new generation of interior designers can run their businesses.
Welcome to the club. Hi, Shaun.
Hey.
Welcome to this meeting of the Hot Young Designers Club.
I am telling you, this is like a highlight of my week to get to have dedicated time to talk it out, hash it out with you. Like, I need this.
The whole family knows they have to go away or be quiet.
It's like, no, you can't download stuff on the internet during this. No, you can't be streaming on the TV. You can't be doing laundry. It all has to be quiet. Like, the whole house has to become my little studio because everything echoes through a house with a semi-open floor plan. So
yeah, we're so mean.
It's a small piece of a whole weekend, but I'm just stoked to be here. So
okay, today we're talking photo shoots.
All things professional photo shoot, and I'm sure we will not even get to everything, but this is like a meat and potatoes type of episode. So we're not, right now is time of COVID, we are not in clients' homes doing shoots. I've heard from quite a few designers that they have shoots on hold, shoots on pause. They're waiting to do certain projects right now. This is the time to really like strategize around how you do them, how you plan for them, get yourself ready, start putting feelers out there to photographers, talk about their process, sort of like a peek behind the curtain. So even if you're listening and you have had successful professional photo shoots before, there will definitely be stuff in this episode for you. If you haven't done them before, this is definitely going to get you a good baseline to start from, and you'll have some good takeaways.
Yeah, and you might even be able to practice in your own house with your own projects.
It's a lot of fun.
If you're feeling up for it.
That's true.
Okay, well, let's kick off this show with our weekly Fizzle and Sizzle. So every week we share the things that bummed us out, which are our fizzles, but celebrate the things that got us excited, and they're called our sizzles.
For me, this week, the thing that was I'm going to start with my sizzle this week. My sizzle was that my husband, Shaun, he is a healthcare administrator. So he works in a hospital in a clinic-like setting. And from the very beginning of all of this going down, he has not been able to leave work early, do a work from home. It's just been constant making sure that his clinics, the doctors that work with him, everybody is prepared and all of that. And we're like holding our breath, but finally some employees were told that it's like, hey, if you are able to like clear up your appointments and you can have a half day off or whatever, like they're trying to give employees a little bit of wiggle room. And this week he got to it was like a day off, but he was working from home. So he hadn't been able to do that. And I have to say how nice it was just to kind of have him around an extra day during the week. It was nice to like have breakfast together, and we haven't really been able to do that on weekdays. I don't want to pretend like the whole healthcare situation is fine and now everybody gets days off, but I think we take it for granted how nice it is to have that flexibility in our lives, and that there are a lot
Yeah.
of industries right now that haven't had that. The fact that he could peel himself away even for one day where it hasn't felt so urgent has been a really nice mental health break for him. And it was definitely needed for us too. Here's a fizzle. This is definitely a fizzle in the time of COVID. We've been having happy hours with friends on Zoom with a group of us, the gays of Long Beach, I'll say. But here's what I'm realizing. I can't do these calls all the time anymore. I am getting overwhelmed. I feel like I just can't keep talking about what's going on with the world when I'm trying to have a distraction. And that really, like, it's supposed to be fun. We're all supposed to have a happy hour. And some of them start to feel like after a while, I don't want it to just be a bitch session. Like, I get it.
Right.
We're all going through it. So I'm not going to just leave it on that note. What I'm going to say is, I don't know if you read things from Ingrid Lee.
Mm-hmm.
So she talks about like Joyful
The
Home,
aesthetics
and
of joy. Yeah.
right, and her book Joyful, and so she sent out in her newsletter this week like a prompt for Joyful Conversations, which is just, here are some prompts that you got to like make sure you're on her newsletter before she'll send you the prompts, but it's just like a PDF prompt. I am like making a commitment to myself to make something better out of that fizzle of, these calls are not being as much fun anymore. So I got the prompts. Next week's happy hour call is going to start with answering things like that. And just a little teaser, like one of them is like something in your home that brings you joy or makes you
Mm.
happy. And so like we're all on a Zoom call. Everybody could totally do that while we're sitting around our house with our phones and our laptops. They could go get the thing or take us to it and show us the thing that makes them happy. And at least by the time we go around, all of us, everyone will have shared something a little more uplifting than, okay, we're locked in again, let's complain about it.
Yeah, that reminds me, Priya Parker, who wrote The Art of Gathering, like, it's so brilliant. I can't talk about this book enough. And she started a new podcast with the New York Times recently, and they were talking about Passover, her first episode, and how this family was trying to make it work. It's really interesting episode, but one of her ideas was for everyone to bring an offering to the Zoom, and there were like 40 people on the call maybe, so
Whoa.
not to go through it, like it may not work for everyone to go and spend 10 minutes on their offering, but even if they wrote it into a Google Doc later or shared a document that had links out to the thing, so maybe your offering was a meme or something. Or if it's something special, you're just holding it with you, or you're wearing the shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a way for everyone to prepare for a meaningful gathering, which is what she's all about. I feel you. My sizzle, I struggled with finding a fizzle as well. I think everything's just kind of flattened out. Like there's not real high highs or low.
The peaks and valleys are gone, and now we're all in this mediocre
We've
layer in between.
flattened the emotional curve. I think that's what happened.
We're all turning into
interesting.
Eeyore, and
I just think
don't
there's
sue us,
like
Disney.
nothing. There's not a lot of interesting things happening in our lives because we're not doing anything. But yeah, I'll just share. My fizzle was similar because my friend's daughter turned 3 yesterday, and they had a really hard year, and her daughter had open heart surgery
Oh
a
my
couple months
gosh.
ago. So it's just a big deal for her to celebrate her birthday, and we had to have a Zoom party for her. It was just awkward, like 20 people. Happy birthday! Oh,
I know.
happy birthday! Like,
and the energy leaves so quickly after that too. It's like, oh, now what? And it's like
everyone's talking over each other.
There's no snacks to go get, no cake to cut.
No. So it was just, I mean, I'm glad we could celebrate her, but she could care less about this computer situation, you know.
Yeah. Oh, a
So
3-year-old. I can't even get my nephew to look at me when we're on FaceTime. Like he's showing
I
me
know.
toys, he's holding it down. It's a mess.
I mean, my friend did her best. She sent us all little princess crowns to wear during it in advance, but yeah. Anyway, so that was just kind of those like heartbreaking things that are is what it is.
I
My
mean, the good news
sis
will be hopefully she doesn't remember that birthday very much.
and she doesn't even care. Like,
As a 3-year-old.
yeah.
Yeah.
She still had fun toys to play with and she had cake.
Exactly.
Let's see, my sizzle would be yesterday we started demoing for our one room challenge. So
Yeah.
like it feels like the project started. We've we removed the window in our bathroom, which is a big deal. And we started clearing things out. So it feels like we're now kind of in a construction site lightly, which is
But you're
exciting.
like,
Like it's happening.
you're committed now.
Right.
Yeah. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the worst thing that happens. This happens to me in my home, but also with clients. Do you have that like, oh shit moment? Like, what have we done after you demo stuff?
Never.
What? I wish I could live like that. You're like living on the edge. Like, I just can't. Every time I'm like, oh shit, we're committed now. Like, it's out. You can't put it back the way it was. It's done. Like,
I mean, technically we could. It's nothing. It's just a piece of plywood up in the hole right now.
I know. I do that even with clients. So I go, oh crap.
No,
Well,
once
the
I
only path
decide,
forward.
yeah, once I decide and I see the future vision, there's no backwards.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm glad you have that in your spirit.
Yeah, I know.
It's a long couple of weeks ahead, but it's going to be exciting to see it all come together and see your plans. So it'll be good.
I can't wait. Okay.
And this week, photo shoots, we should just like jump into the meat of the conversation. If you have not worked with a professional photographer before, I will just say you don't know what you don't know, but there's so much you're missing out on, not just from the quality of their camera, but their professionalism and the fact that they've done a lot of these shoots before. And it makes such a big difference. So I recognize that there may be a lot of you listening who haven't worked with them before, or you've used a probably a great quality camera on your own. There's something to be said for the skills and the expertise that comes with these, professional photographers. I started without professional photography, and it just made such a difference for the quality of my portfolio, the content, and then the quality of the leads that I started getting after moving to professional photography was like day and night. And now nearly every call that I have with a prospective client always talks about the photographs that are in my portfolio and of my like more current projects. They don't ever reference any of the older photos or older projects that were out there. And in fact, I've made it a point of, as new projects come in, the old ones of lesser quality have just dropped off and disappeared. So it really makes a difference. And I've seen that. So I don't know if that's been the same for you, Rebecca.
Totally. I mean, I can take my own photos, kind of. I mean, I can, but I do a lot around my house. But yeah, the quality of a professional who has multiple lenses, knows, I think too, for me, it's helpful just to have somebody look at my house in a new way. Like literally they're seeing new angles that I've never considered because I'm just used to doing it a certain way. So
Yeah. Oh, now that you
yeah,
say that, I've had photographers go, oh, I want to shoot this like this, or they come in and they go, oh, this is that shot. Like their mind is already wired for it.
they're only looking at the photo angles and light, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at 100,000 other things and
Right.
the
Like, how do they
details,
live
and
here? And what is this like?
there's oh my god, that looks filthy, I gotta fix it. Like,
Yeah. So then like the building blocks of this will start with the photos themselves, and then we'll dive into like other stuff. But I think like the first part to talk about if you're talking to your photographer is making sure that the rights and the legalities and how you're going to use them is all set up for you and your business. So what are the limitations, if any, on where they can be shared? When do you have to be tagging or sharing the photographer? It's almost, the answer is probably almost every single time you put it out there, they want to make sure that they're credited. But they also limit when they can be used for anyone other than you to share them, distribute them, put them in catalogs if you've got product. That's more like, you
Right.
don't want to get in trouble legally. Like, don't get
No,
yourself
and
sued over this.
right, and you just want to be a good partner. I am working with my photographer still, like for things like the one room challenge, for instance, where I have sponsors who part of my deal and contract with my sponsors is their ability to use photos for their end use.
Yeah.
So all of that has to be, I mean, if you're smart about it, everything should be talked about with your photographer in advance. So there's a little bit of negotiation that has to happen both ways. Some of my sponsors want to be able to use photos for print and advertising, which is strictly prohibited in my original contract with my photographer.
Mm-hmm.
So there's things we're doing to work around it, like I'm going to take a few photos of my own that they can have unlimited usage rights on, and my photographer's images will be limited to social media and web use only.
Yeah, that's actually all of my previous contracts with photographers have always allowed social media use. So that, I mean, and it's kind of hard to control that environment. So it probably makes it easier on them that it's just, hey, we're allowing this. You guys can share it online through social media, wherever. But the moment it comes into someone wants to take it and market it and make money off of their photo, yeah, that's like their property. They have a right to earn money off of those photographs being used in catalogs or for sales. I totally want my photographers to stick around. So I want them to be able to make money on licensing agreements like that.
And I've had brands want to use the photos and they just get in touch with the photographer and they work out extended rights. And that's been totally doable. So
Yeah.
it's possible. You just need to know who owns the photos. Your photographer should tell you that. And it's intellectual property. So my photographer owns the photos
Mm-hmm.
and I have rights to using them.
Correct. I think that's good. I know that there are questions out there from other designers about just like, can I share this? A company reached out, they want to do this. Just touch base with your photographer. Some of them will want the exposure, and they'll give either discounted rates on the licensing agreement because they're hoping for more. I mean, let them run their business their way.
Exactly.
Um, and then that's kind of the basics. I would say after you kind of know what's in that contract, the usage rights and all of that, then you want to talk to your photographers if you're pre-screening them about how do they take their photos. And the the answer in our industry is almost always that they need to be shooting with natural light only. It's great if they have proper lighting for some of that, or that they can, some rooms are darker and they may need to use lights in the room, but ideally they can get all of the light that they need, even with a really long exposure from the natural light that's in a room. And it's shocking to me when I have like a dark space and I watch the photographer's lenses and they can just get that much longer of an exposure. And so in real life, it looks like a dark cave, but on the photograph, because the lens is open that much longer, they collect so much more natural light. And I
Yeah.
am constantly in shock. And you just can't reproduce that with editing. It's never going to look
No.
exactly the same. And it just makes everything in the room look so much better. I know it's like seems counterintuitive, but if they've got the right equipment and the right presets set up with their editing program, they're going to get so much more light that way than we
Which
can.
means, so not all photographers are created equal. I have some amazing photographers who are really great at portraiture and lifestyle shots, but when translated to interiors, they'll even
It's
say it's
gone.
a trickier game.
Yes.
different. So interior photography should always be shot on a tripod, unless like sometimes you can do like freehand on detail stuff, but
Yeah, like the
that's
vignette little stuff is super easy to get in on with a handheld,
but a
setup.
tripod is necessary for those long exposures like you were talking about.
Totally. Yeah.
Like
I mean,
there's no workaround.
no, there's no way to do it. And while it's on a tripod, we should also mention that one of the best things that can help you kind of up the professionalism of your shots and the way that they read on camera is if while it's attached to a tripod, that the camera's also tethered to your photographer's laptop. So that way you can see the photos as they're being taken and as they're importing into their software program. Because I mean, sometimes I get so excited about the first couple of shots that like I'm gonna like wet myself. I get so excited. Like I just like you've had these projects, you're so psyched, but then you start seeing them come on and it's still exciting, but you're like, ooh, I need to move that vase like an inch to the left, or like I need to have that little piece of a eucalyptus frond hanging
Mm-hmm.
over the edge of the photo. Like you can't get that by looking at the little screen on your photographer's camera. You
Well,
can't see that.
you can't see it at all by your eyeballs looking at the scene. The camera
Yeah,
is going to read the room so much differently. It's insane,
yeah.
depending on, especially the lens and how tight
Like where,
it's getting shot.
yeah,
You need to
wherever
see
that
where the
frame is
crop
going to
is. Yeah.
be. Yeah, totally. That's like essential. It's usually a mix for my photographers. They have, um, sometimes like we'll just shoot through a couple quick series of things. And then once we see where stuff lands, then we go back and we restyle or edit as we're doing it, but without being tethered. I couldn't do that. So
Yeah,
there's
it's
a lot of,
harder.
I'm not going to say there's a lot of wasted shots, but there are a lot of shots that aren't used that still look beautiful, but they're not going to be the portfolio shot. They're not going to be the Instagram shot. But they're still beautiful photos. And most photographers go back through my stuff later and they favorite photos that are really the ones they want to get. But there are hundreds taken during a shoot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I definitely think tethering is an amazing tool. I mean, but I've had it where, like, one of my last shoots, the tethering didn't work. So sometimes you just have to be, and there's a lot of flexibility required on these shoots.
Oh yeah.
But
I
that,
almost missed that one time, but I had the photographer forgot the dongle attachment.
right,
Who invented that stupid word, dongle?
I know.
Um, the dongle. She didn't have it, and I luckily had one because I had been doing stuff on my laptop and I had a connector. So she used mine for the shoot.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
if not, I was gonna on that shoot. Shaun, my husband, was helping me, and I was like, before I realized I had it with my stuff, I was ready to send him to like Target or Best Buy or whatever to
It
get one because it was just
makes a
not an
big
option.
difference.
That was a whole house shoot, so I was like, "There's no way we're getting through this whole
Oh,
like."
yeah.
I could start her on something small where I don't need them, and she could do the hand shot stuff, but I definitely wanted it later. So anyway,
Also, I think an important thing to do is I've heard this come up before is don't be afraid to ask for a review. A lot of times people I think are
yeah,
intimidated by photographers. And also maybe that's just not a great fit of a person if they're not going to let you get your eyes on it.
yeah.
But you need to see it through the lens. So if they're not offering, you need to ask. You definitely this if like to Shaun's point, you're interviewing, make sure they allow that. This is not editorial, um, lifestyle, artistic work in that way. Like this is
This
a
isn't
reflection of
Vogue.
your
Yeah.
work. They're not the art director, you are. So you need to insist on a review and being able to make adjustments.
Totally, totally. I mean, there's like definitely like you said, all photographers are created different. So I I had some photographers who are like they really want to capture a lot of angle shots, which in our business, just angle shots don't really sell everything as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have found that the head on like forward, everything kind of lined up. If
Square,
you're,
yeah.
yeah, you're everything's squared off. The camera is exactly facing the credenza in an entryway. Those do and perform the best in social media. So I really want to shoot a lot of things head on, but sometimes you can't get a whole room or a space. And I have plenty of angle shots. What's funny is a lot of the angled shots can also feel more intimate, even though they're bigger, but they also feel a little bit more approachable sometimes because people are imagining how they're in a room. The trick is that they're not using such a wide angle lens like a realtor would use, that it's still
Right.
relatively narrow field,
Not
and that instead,
distorted.
yeah, we're not trying to get a panoramic of a whole room. They're just trying to get a corner, or there might be a doorway that blocks them from getting the perfect angle. So you shoot around those things, and that's
You will,
totally gonna
yeah,
happen.
to the wide angle, you don't want to see a ton of ceiling and a
Yeah.
weird bunch of foreground of the flooring. Um, yeah, definitely real estate photography is different than interior design photography. And I think sometimes those angle shots are nice. I like to get, I mean, I agree that the straight on shots perform the best and they're the prettiest, but sometimes, or I think it's important to have the angle shots to get an idea of how the rooms interact.
Yes.
So you see, okay, where am I in this space? How does
Yeah.
this
How
work
does
with
like the
that
entry
last
relate to the
space? Yeah.
living area, relate to the dining or
Yeah.
whatever? Yeah. And then I always ask for, I always like it when the photographers are pulled back just a little bit extra, because I can always crop in on a frame or I can edit it. But if it's too tight, there's no way for me to pull back. So I'd like to be able to
Exactly.
take a really large, like, vertical photo, and then I can crop into part of it horizontally for a detail shot, um, and get like a mix. But it's nice if they already take a couple photos of every room in every room horizontally, and then at some point they turn the camera and they get some more vertical shots. It's nice if they've already done that, but if they're not going to be able to get that many shots, at least get them to get some that are pulled back, so that way you can crop them into
Yeah.
different sizes.
Yeah, like on the photo tip angle, you need vertical and horizontal both. So you need vertical mostly for social media, works best. Just the proportions, but you need those horizontals for blogs and website.
Yeah.
You're gonna be so bummed if you only have vertical because you cannot get those wide photos cropped right
Yeah.
if they're only vertical.
They just don't
It's
work
happened to me
right.
a lot.
So, and I've had that on
Especially small
smaller projects.
spaces, like
Thank
small
you.
rooms, like
Yes. Yes,
bathrooms are
God.
really hard to shoot horizontal. So
And you feel like you just end up with a bunch of small detail vignette shots, and you're like, well, this does nothing for explaining the whole room. Like,
I mean, you can only do what you can do, but I mean, when we shot my Eames again, when we shot my powder room, yeah, I mean, my photographer, she's standing on the toilet, like, I mean, it's just like crazy
I've
getting in
done
there.
photographers outside the bathroom in the window, like from the window into the shower, like
Like a
taking a
creeper.
picture, yeah, like a peeping Tom, trying to get a shot. And
Sucks.
it's like, I mean, kudos to them. Like, yeah, there's only so much room sometimes, and
Only
good on
so wide of a
photographers
lens.
to do
Okay, and then
whatever they can to get it.
a couple more on the tips. Don't try to get shots, and when you're looking at your shots, make sure that not that the furniture legs aren't all cut off. You want to
Oh,
see
that's
the
a good one.
full leg of the furniture on the floor,
Yeah.
and you can't
Otherwise, it's
hide
just
it
a floating
sometimes.
spaceship.
Yep. And then
Or anything
oh
weird that's going to show up. Like, I had blue
yeah,
tape in a photograph one time for something that we had taped aside, like out of the way, and I can never use that photo because it just is so glaring and ugly.
you
And
can't Photoshop it out.
not in this one shot that it's in.
Mm,
So it will bug me forever, because if to Photoshop it out would mean some really funky edits to the photo that would be really obvious, and it was just easier
yeah.
to not use the photo. So Have you had
I've
that
had that
happen?
happen with drapes that are not hanging right, and I didn't notice it the whole shoot, and so every photo with them,
It's like
you
one
can't.
funky fold.
Yeah, it looks terrible. You can't fix it.
Yeah.
Um, I used to do a lot of product photography in my really my first job. I was in the coffee industry, so we were shooting really close up, tight shots of coffee in the
Perfect
glass.
latte.
Oh my god, we would spend 8 hours for one photo. It was crazy.
Hmm.
Um,
Food photography is a beast.
oh, and we would this was back in the day too, before digital. So we would shoot 4x5 film and have to do Polaroids. Like, talk about tethering. Like,
No thank you, ma'am. No thank you.
I'm so glad I learned how to do it and what it
No,
involved. But
ma'am.
yeah, it was tedious. But one thing that photographer, my friend Gordon, really taught me about was avoiding tangents. Do you know about this?
Like tangent lines, like you're taking me back to high school geometry right now.
Kinda. It's like a Gestalt theory.
Okay.
So, like, picture a, let's see, vase on a table with wainscoting line in the background.
Okay.
You do not want the top of that vase to be perfectly lined up with that wainscoting. You
Oh
don't want
yeah.
those 2 points to touch because it creates this weird tension.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure the vase is moved so it overlaps the background line. So that's called a tangent. So anytime
Okay.
two objects meet in an uncomfortable way, it's not pleasing to
Is
the
that
eye.
it's like those memes where it says that you're like this close to losing your shit and like two things are like just about to touch.
Yeah.
Like a milliliter or milliliter. God, we're drinking over here. A millimeter from each other. That's
Yeah.
I either try to have things overlap, but in that same light, I always try to style where things are if something is not going to make it all the way into a frame, I would rather have it be partially in and kind of coming in off the side because people's minds will imagine the rest of it. But if it's just gone and there's just this empty surface at the end of a photo, sometimes you feel like, well, something's gone. It's completely
It's
missing.
missing.
So
Yeah.
I even if it is just like a little bit of some branches of a tree that's in a room is peeking in the corner, it's better than just an empty hole that would have been there
Right.
instead.
And on that same vein, I'll add one more thing is don't be afraid to move stuff around. So if you're shooting that console straight on, but the back of the sofa is kind of eclipsing it, like poking in,
Yeah,
just move the sofa completely out of the way so you can get that beauty shot straight on of the console.
totally.
Push
That's
stuff
where
around.
you have to do that because some things just can't be shot the same way. And I would say this is probably a good place to go into like prepping for a shoot is
Mm-hmm.
I I never shoot with clients in a project if it's more than like one room. If it's one room and clients can keep themselves out of that room, like a bathroom or a living area, and I can have them completely out of it, I don't mind that. But otherwise, if we're going to shoot multiple rooms, I ask that they leave the house. And the right to photograph is part of my contract, but I generally just ask very nicely, like, hey, this is going to be easier for everybody if you're just out during that day or not home. I've photographed when clients were on vacation before to make it easier. I don't want them there in the way while we move furniture, while I adjust styling. They start to get freaked out and they get antsy because they don't understand the difference between what it looks like for a photo versus how they live in it are two very different things.
Right. And it's kind of like surgery. Like, you're going to have to pull all the
You're going to
guts
tell the
out and put it on
doctor,
the table.
yeah.
Like, no one needs to see it. It
Yeah.
just needs to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. And if it's like Grandma Betty's prized, whatever, wedding topper, you don't want that on the shelf for your
Yeah.
photos, but you don't want them seeing you taking it away
Yeah. And I
either.
ask, that's good because I ask clients, like, please take out your photos because if you don't, I'm going to. It's not personal. It's
Personal
just,
photos. Yeah.
yeah, like I don't need people to identify you. But I mean, that's like kind of in the beginning. I also do weird things like ask them if there's anything they're allergic to, because I don't want to like bring peanuts in the freaking house to snack on if they're allergic to peanuts. Like
Oh,
I
you're
have like a
really on
whole,
it.
oh, I have a whole, maybe this is something we'll have to put on the website, but I have a whole list they have to sign an acknowledgement to that talks about like, I don't want to let your pets out. Like they need to be isolated. Even I love pets. I have my dogs, but I don't need them running around during a shoot, stepping into a frame or.
Unless they're highly photogenic and then they need to model.
Well, I just remember that old Hollywood adage. What is it? You don't work with kids or animals or something, like because of their
Yeah.
unpredictability. Like I don't,
Right.
it's really hard during a shoot to do that, but I have a whole checklist. Like I also tell clients like, what day do you get your house cleaned? A lot of them do in my area, which is a very first world problem, but I try to come in the day after their house has been cleaned because
Mm-hmm.
it makes my job so much easier. For one client, I actually paid for a cleaning beforehand because it was a busy house, and I realized it was going to be easier for me to just pay for their cleaning and extra cleaning before my shoot than it would have been for me to spend the time and energy to do it. And I usually bring in like an assistant or someone to help, even if it
It
is my
also doesn't
husband.
look very profesh when you go in there with
Mhm.
your gloves on, ready to mop the floor. Like,
Yeah.
you
And I
gotta
don't have,
keep
ain't nobody
yourself.
got time for that. Like,
No.
I'm paying the photographer for their time. And if they're waiting around for me to clean, I'm still paying them. Like, that
Right.
doesn't make sense. So yeah, I always do that. Like, prep it first. Um, if I didn't share with a photographer before they came, I usually have a shot list of all the priority spaces, like the spaces
Mm-hmm.
I've been imagining. And a good photographer will say, what are the spaces I can't miss today? Like, what do I gotta get? So I,
Especially if there's product collaborations involved. I'm always going to pop in with this, but like
yeah,
I have to have this kind of shot of the duvet that
the
was sponsored.
pillows
Like
or yeah.
make sure it's in there and make sure it's the hero of at least one photo.
Yeah. And that's good because you want them to get the cool stuff, but you do want them to just come up with some fun stuff on the spot. um I also tell my photographer about spaces I want them to avoid. I have had spaces in rooms that I wasn't responsible for, and I need them to shoot around those, which usually means make sure they don't end up in a shot. Or I have had parts of scopes of work where I was not included and someone else, a contractor was doing something, and I've just had to avoid spaces. If they know that those are weird areas or trouble areas that you're not super happy with, don't feel like you have to shoot everything. It's okay. Don't shoot something you're not proud of, I guess, is part of that. Like,
Or you're not even going to use.
yeah, it's so much better to don't even have them take a picture that you're never going to post in your portfolio or
Right.
on your content. Like, it's just not worth it. Let them focus on another detail shot or something you can use elsewhere.
Totes. So lighting, we didn't talk too much about lighting. This is definitely the photographer's wheelhouse in their world. But before they come, like for preparation, you need to know how the light works in the house. So what direction the windows are facing. Um, yeah, you want to make sure there's not like crazy sun pouring through the windows during the time that you're shooting. But also, like my house only gets sun during like 2 times of the day, and obviously on opposite sides of the house. So other otherwise, it's almost totally there's no light. So I have to shoot in the mornings or afternoons.
Yeah. And for most people, for most shoots, you don't want to shoot if it's an east facing, if it has a lot of east facing windows or a room with east facing. You don't want to shoot in the morning because the light coming in can be too harsh. And you don't,
Right.
in most shoots, you generally want to have window treatments open. Again, that's okay. Like for everybody listening, this is like the best case scenario, but sometimes you can't avoid it. Like I have seen plenty of beautifully shot rooms where a Roman shade is pulled slightly, or a drapery might be slightly closed to block the harshest part of some sunlight coming in, but they leave a little bit filtering in. And that's cool too, but just know where it is, because it also helps if it's like a full home. It helps the photographer prioritize which room they do first. So they might shoot the room that already has perfect light, and then at the end of the shoot, when the other room, the sun is kind of set at the end of the day, they can come into another room when there's still some lighting and it's not harsh anymore. So
Yeah, or you just have to get crazy creative. Like my kitchen is so hard to shoot because the sun just comes right into the window, and we had to create this crazy drop cloth on the outside on the front lawn. My dad was like holding it while we were shooting it, but we were trying to keep it out of the shot. It was like this whole thing.
that's
But
drop cloths are in my photo shoot kit, because not every photographer will have them, but even those that do may not have the right size, or they may need another one. And so um that's
it's a,
that they're part of my kit. Should we go through our kits?
yeah.
I First off, the most important thing, everyone, you need snacks and LaCroix at a photo shoot. And
You take them to your shoot.
it's not like a Mariah Carey diva moment, like I need all white M&Ms
You
in my
have like a
dressing room.
writer
But
that
but I do I just, you're going to be picking at things. It goes on longer than you think.
you don't want
You're
to get
not going to have,
hangry.
there's going to be no lunch break. You're just going to power
Yeah.
through. So like I have things like protein bars or kind bars and like peanuts or whatever you can safely bring, little snacky bags of stuff, LaCroix. I sometimes send, my husband has been a really great photo assistant actually. But I've also had friends help me. I've had people who are interested in design enthusiasts reach out to me on Instagram even, and I've had them as assistants for jobs, like for
That's
photo
awesome.
shoots. Which I think they love, because that's like this is the sexy part of interior design. But it's also like they get to see what it's like and know if that's something they also want to be getting into. But you always need people to help run. So they're not in my kit, but I don't plan a shoot without help, because you can't leave. It's you and the photographer, and you might need help moving a plant, moving a sofa, going on a
Yeah,
run for
it's
a
really
laptop
intense.
dongle.
It's super intense. I
What's one thing you put in your kit?
um I mean, I always bring my install kit, which I use for installations, which includes like every random thing under the sun, like
It's like a junk
tape,
drawer.
totally. Tape, matches, scissors, glue dots, like all kinds of
I have a
little
bunch
like
of those like
tools.
fuzzy furniture and
Felt, yeah.
pads, like felty pads. I have tons of those.
I'll bring our little Dyson hand vac.
Oh my God,
Um,
yeah. Ooh, that's a smart one.
that thing's
Let me write that
awesome.
down.
Um, and definitely flowers. That's
Yes.
like, I mean, those are pretty much props, but sorry.
Bonus points are like you get the flowers and you can either leave them there as something very generous with your client, or you can take them home and give them to your family or your friends when you do that. So that's like an upside of the flowers. For the flowers are a business expense. Those are part of marketing and advertising. So I use flowers like that. We're very fortunate in LA to have a flower district that's very, very amazing and huge. And so I can find stuff at all times of the year. But I have also, in that same light, bought stuff at like Trader Joe's and
Oh
picked up
yeah.
stuff for a
If it's
shoot.
beauty
Like,
season, I'm going to Trader Joe's. Yeah, but I always bring a mix of flora and fauna. So actually, it's fauna is like animals, huh?
yeah, please don't bring animals to my photo shoot.
Oh, okay. So I meant flowers
I brought
and
this
just
small woodland
greens.
squirrel to the
Oh
photo.
my god! Or my baby doves that are nesting in my
Yeah,
light.
don't do
Um,
that.
how cute would it be to have a nest of baby doves, though? That would be such a
Just what,
coffee
in the
table.
kitchen? Like,
No, like a coffee table centerpiece.
I'm
So spring.
imagining I'm imagining
Very
like a
spring moment.
Renaissance still life where they would have stuff like that, like foraged things for a Renaissance still life
I'm not
portrait.
afraid to forage, but what I meant to say is flowers and just like greenery. Like
Yeah, like
I've been
potted
known,
plants, succulents, mixed
or
up
I've been
stuff.
known
Like,
to like hop out. I always keep pruning shears in my glove compartment, and I've
I
hopped
have
out of a
cut a
Starbucks drive-through where there's eucalyptus hanging over. I'm like, this
yes,
needs to be trimmed anyway.
I have cut magnolia branches from the city trees and used those for stuff. I've cut pretty branches that have little blooms on them from
Yeah.
public stuff. I don't usually take it from someone's yard unless I ask. And I say I don't usually because that's not always been the case. But
I've
I
always
have looked
wanted.
over my shoulder a few times of like, is anybody watching me cut this? And then just snipped it real quick and ran.
I mean, sometimes it's like you're doing them a favor, like you're pruning their.
Yeah.
But I
Um,
like to bring a mix of flowers and greens. Sometimes flowers are just too much. They might be like pulling too much of a color
yeah.
story. So just having texture and greens can, or like branches can be what you need. Or height
Yeah.
differential. Like I like to just do all that on
It's
site with what we need to do.
it's amazing all the little like weird spots or corners or things that are part of a shoot that in a photo it's completely empty, but we forget how much that last little layer of like flowers or greenery or whatever fills in and brings life
The
to a
life is
room.
big. Yeah.
Um and I try to explain that to clients because I recognize that we all don't have like these, like fancy Hollywood mansions that we're living in where we can afford fresh flower deliveries every week. But I do try to like give some of that moment to clients of at least on a coffee table or something. I want them to have it during an install, but then you've got to bring it back in during a shoot. I have extra plants in my house that I've brought just to have options, little house plants, succulents, cuttings.
Mm.
Um, do you bring extra stuff to your shoots?
Yeah, I like to bring extra styling things. So usually I'm shooting within
Totes.
a day or two of installs. So yeah,
That's the
book.
ideal.
So books, but I'll even have like when I install, I usually have options for pillows and throws and things like that. So I'll usually bring those back because sometimes you just need a quieter throw on the sofa, even though
Like it
it
looks great in
maybe
the
looks,
design.
yeah. But in that specific shot, it's like too much to have a
Distracting.
blue one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I have a couple like extra trays from my styling closet or
mhm.
like extra bowls of all different sizes. It's amazing how like just a tiny little bowl or
Yeah,
something on a vanity or whatever just make like no one's using hand soap, but sure we'll put a little cake of hand soap in a photo because it looks more approachable or something like stuff like
right.
that.
Or like hand towels, different vases for different sizes of when you're building those flower or branch arrangements. You just need options.
Yeah. I'm not mad at people who do it. I don't want to sound shady as shady as hell, but I'm not a fan of uh like the shoot where it's like a kitchen and it has like 14 artichokes in a bowl and they look beautiful on camera, like don't get me wrong, but also to me they just don't feel real. Like I keep artichokes in the fridge. So it's weird to me when I see a bowl of like 14 artichokes. And sometimes I see shoots where I'm like, oh, those are definitely fake artichokes. And I'm thinking, are they leaving those there all the time? Because artichokes stink when you leave them out. They're
Ew, they do. I've
gross.
never looked at
Yes,
the.
they're not meant to be like
But
once they've
like,
been cut, they need to go like fast. Like
but
hated
if it's a
it. Like
kitchen, I'll do like a bowl of citrus.
yes.
Um, that feels more, I mean, it would be
And
natural.
I know that's more of like a styling thing, but you do think about that when you're going to a shoot of like, oh, we have the bar cart. Let's grab like 5 limes or something. And we're going to have some of those at the bar cart, even though we understand that people aren't leaving them there all the time. But
No, but it could be, I mean, I like to kind of set the scene of, okay, this is pre cocktail gathering that they're going to have,
or it's like this, is this a Sunday morning, whatever.
brunch.
That's like
Yeah.
styling stuff. That's good. Okay, so that's where we go next then, is styling the shots of I have like an old pair of glasses from my husband that I use for shoots because he gets new frames every once in a while, and I keep an extra set of glasses because like
That's a good idea.
there's something so cute about like a folded up magazine or a newspaper or something with some glasses, and like not even
That's a
where like,
sign of humanity. Like there was a
no,
person
like someone
here.
lives in this house, like
Mm-hmm.
something, it shouldn't be so perfect that it looks like it was a museum photo shoot. Like you wanna, like I have like old keys and stuff too that I even have on like a little key ring, because like if your client's not around, also you don't know if you don't want to see your clients like gross key fob with like the giant black remote for their car. So sometimes you want like good, what's good looking keys, but like
Like an
you
old
want
timey,
you
like
want
skeleton
like,
key.
no, just like the metal, a keychain with only like metal keys on it, you know,
Right.
with like a little key fob key ring on it that you can drop in a bowl, and it's at the entryway, and it can be there. Um, that's stuff I always have, or like set up a little stage for coffee or something on the like the kitchen island. I feel like you said is like, are they cutting up some lemons for a cocktail? Or are they making tea? Or
Yeah.
make it, I mean, get the shot where you have nothing in there so you can see everything beautiful, but then make sure you have that moment where it looked like almost like the homeowner just left the room.
Right. Like a little lifestyle. Yeah. I
People
like
eat that
that.
shit up, Rebecca. They love that shit.
Well, and it lets them imagine that they are there or they live there. And that's
Yes.
why you need to remove all the family photos. So, because you can't imagine yourself living somewhere if you see someone else's face
Hmm.
on the
And in
shelf.
that sense, it is sort of like real estate staging, where
Yes.
people need to be able to pretend and have like suspended disbelief for a couple minutes. Like, oh yeah, I could live. This is where I live, or this could be me in this lifestyle.
Put me in it.
There's sometimes some make it work moments when you're styling though. Like you're like, no one is ever gonna live this way. No one's ever gonna use this the way I've done this. Like I'm not gonna leave a bowl
Sure.
of pistachios on my coffee table. Like what a freaking mess. Like,
Or like
but
apples in the entryway. Like if you start
yeah.
dissecting like
Oh,
photos and magazines, it's
I
ridiculous.
saw an Architectural Digest photo where there was like a bench in a corner of this New York apartment, and the bench had half of it was a cushion, and the other half of it, they had put like 9 tangerines on the side of the bed, like spaced out. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't know. I'm like, okay, they
What's
look
the
great.
story?
They look great for color, but what? Like, did the kid just leave his cuties sitting on the bench? Like,
Maybe
it didn't
they
make,
are vitamin
I
C
think it,
deficient and they need to
in
like get
the
it in when they wake up.
always they got a reminder, but I think it was mainly for the, oh, this bright orange color
We needed
is
a
in the
pop of orange.
background on this corner, and we wanted to get color on all sides of the photo. But man, that was like some poor styling assistant was told like, get down to the corner store and get some tangerines now. Like we need colorful fruit, and they had to go, that poor assistant had to go running to the little like 7-Eleven and get some oranges, like cuties,
Off
for
to the
that shoot.
bodega.
Like, yes.
Well, I've been in a shoot where we were styling a bar cart and realized that all of the beautiful crystal decanters were empty. And that was like a dumb moment. And the homeowners didn't live in the house, so they hardly had anything. And it was like he was like a bachelor. And he didn't, I guess he should have had whiskey, but like I don't even think he'd moved into the house or something.
What proper bachelor doesn't have alcohol
I
in the
know.
house? Like,
So we had these really amazing with like decanters. So I'm like, okay, well we got to fill them up. So I was able to fill a couple with water, which could be gin and vodka, but like we need
okay.
some brown liquor in here. So I just went into the fridge. I'm like, what has he got in here? And I just mixed up a batch of soy sauce and kept adding water until it just made the perfect whiskey color. I think I might have added something else because it was like, it's, this is from my old like food styling days too.
Okay.
Different sauces like have a different color. So the soy
Yeah.
sauce ended up working pretty good. But in the past, we used to have liquid smoke on those shoots too.
Oh
You can make
yeah.
coffee out of liquid smoke because it's got like a gray kind of color base to it.
That's so smart.
So that was really awesome. So I was pretty proud of my soy sauce whiskey move because you just gotta make it work sometimes.
You're just like, to quote Tim Gunn, make it work,
Make
designers.
it work,
Like,
people.
it has to happen. I can't tell you how many times that like perfect throw blanket moment,
Oh
that
my
don't just
God.
happen. That does not just happen. It's, I'm going to try putting it on my shoulders and then throwing it back onto the sofa. I'm going to
The
sit
reverse dismount.
like, yeah, it's like, how can I make it look like it was
Well,
meant to be just left behind in a
what
perfect
always happens
drape
to
with,
me is it happens the first time, but then I'm like, oh, I think I can make it better. And then you never
and
can.
you're wrong, nope.
Yeah. You just, because the first time you did it very casual, cavalier like, which is how
Totally.
they fall. Now you're focusing on these freaking things.
Exactly.
But like, I had in my bathroom shoot last year, I had gotten these really pretty hand towels for the towel, like, just a hand towel rack. And they were fluffy and inviting. But once we started shooting in that room, which was pretty small, they were so overwhelming, like huge. Just
Yeah.
like this huge puff ball on the wall. And so she's like, do you have any Turkish towels? I'm like, shoot, I only have like full size bath towels. I'm like, whatever, give me the scissors. And I just cut that shit up.
Oh,
It was kind of ratty, so it was fine. But yeah, I cut
but
it
you had to
up,
like
duct taped it in the back.
sacrifice.
I did. Duct taped the back, and it looked perfect.
Okay.
I think
I
I had to
mean,
cut because I had to cut it into a rectangle, so I had to cut two sides of it. So I draped it and zhuzhed it just perfectly, duct taped it over the loop.
oh my gosh. I
That's why I
I
like
mean,
shooting at my house the best.
photo shoots are fake. Like I have told clients that I'm like, this is fake. This is all made
No
up
one
along the
lives like
way. It's
this.
not, no one's living like this. And I even showed one client because they were like, how do you make the beds look like they do in a shoot? And I was like, hold on. First off, there's like 6 layers on a fully styled bed. And at least here for us, I'm in Southern California, greater LA, nobody sleeps with that much because if no one's running their AC that much as I would like it to be like frigid at night to sleep with like 80 layers, like, hibernating. Nobody sleeps with their bed with all those layers that are in for a shoot, but they do
No one
look
irons their
beautiful.
shoots.
Yeah, you have to iron the top of the sheet to make it look that beautiful so it's not all wrinkly after it washes. Just steam out extra stuff, wrinkles on pillowcases. And for comforters, the big trick for comforters is you even have to put a second comforter like duvet underneath one to make it look full enough.
Yeah, in all the retail stores too, they're all double stuffed duvets.
Exactly. And there was a good trick that Emily Henderson used to use that I picked up a long time ago, which was she takes the like aluminum like duct tape where it's actually like aluminum sticky tape, so it has like a
Mm-hmm.
rigidness to it for like true like HVAC work.
Yeah.
She puts that on the edges of pillows when like sometimes the edge is just
Mm,
too wobbly or wavy but you want it to be a straight line. She put that on the
on the
back of the
back.
pillow to make it sit up straight
Oh, that's a
so
good
it
idea.
still stays in a straight line, and it's like genius. Like
I
I've
think
got
I,
that in my set now. I've
I think
got,
I read from her. She also they fill them with cardboard, right? Like the pillows, they'll put
yeah,
a
to make
cardboard
them rigid,
insert.
to keep the back of it firm and like held in place with the
They
fluffy part on
always
the front.
slump. There's
Yeah.
this guy. Have you heard? I don't know his name, so I'll look it up and put it in the show notes. But there's this
Okay.
guy who's a famous world traveling bed stylist.
World
All
traveling bed
No,
stylist.
literally, all he does is style beds, and he works for like Pottery Barn and West Elm.
Like for
And
shoots.
for shoots, all he does is style
Oh,
shoots for catalogs
okay. Like he
for
can't be
beds.
hired to come to your house.
Oh God, no. No, but like he has these videos. I'll find them. They're
Okay.
fascinating to watch because like the man can just pull a duvet and like he's got like the perfect like
Toss.
maneuver, and then the duvet just
Oh,
falls. But then
I
like
love that
he's
shit.
got great tips too. Yeah, it's so
Okay,
cool.
I need to know who he is because I want to follow that too. Um,
I forgot
I
about
love
him.
that
Yeah,
stuff. Styling is a
talk
whole
about a
other
niche.
world. I have a crush on quite a few stylists that are out there for designers. Um, like there's a few that you see that pop up for stuff and they get pulled for stuff now. Like even Brady Tolbert, who works with Emily Henderson or did work with Emily Henderson, he does styling. Um, so
For
his
Bobby,
stuff,
you know, right?
yeah, and now he works with Bobby Burke, and there's another one here in Los Angeles who just like has mastered that effortless quality. Scott Horn. Oh, I told you this week there was one that I was looking at where
Colin,
um
I think
Colin
it's Colin.
King. Colin
Yes,
King, and you guys have probably, if you're listening, you've probably seen his work and not even realized that he was the stylist for it. But um, in the meantime, I can't afford to bring on my own stylist. So it's just me, and I'm doing all the work, and I'm learning from all of these other stylists as I go how to
I
like
love that part.
do it. And that's the fun part of our job is I'm like, holy crud, I would have never thought about this if I hadn't watched them do it.
Totally. And watch, yeah, like how the way they lay things like moves your eye around the photograph and gives it life
Just
and
some,
dimension and like rhythm. It's really cool.
it's a whole art form. I think this is like, this is the intro to photo shoot. By no means, like nothing takes the place of being on the shoots, learning from your photographers. I have learned every single shoot something new from a photographer. Um, you know, I realize stuff I need to put in my list. I have like this running. Do you use notes on your phone a lot?
Oh yeah.
Where they're like cloud synced. So I'm constantly adding in. I have a list that's like install kit, shoots, like every time it crosses my mind, it goes into one of these cloud backed up lists so I can keep myself going because nothing takes the place of getting the notes written down as it's happening and you go, damn it, next shoot, I've got to figure this out. And trust me, you will forget after the relief of finishing that shoot. You will not be able to remember half the stuff that happened that day. It just
You'll never
all,
want to think about it again.
oh God, it's such a
I get
mess. You
so
just wanna
tired
just wanna
afterwards.
like take a shower and like go to bed early that after a shoot.
I always say like photo shoots, I mean, similar to installs, it's the most exhausting day's work without, well, the way it's not similar to install is it's not physically demanding when you're just sitting there zhuzhing and looking at the um,
That's
iPad,
what clients think we do all day.
but I always say like it's like a different mental brain workout. Like your brain is like operating in a different way, and you're looking at things so intensely. I think it's just like a brain drain,
Yeah.
but it's
You're
fun.
like all your mental space is gone for that day and it's done. But
It's
it's
like super
so
heightened.
when you get that link from the photographer
Ugh,
and it's and you see everything and you're just like damn, like I want the whole world to see this. I'm so excited about a project again and I'm so happy with it, and clients get stoked too when they see how great their home looks. Like they are
right.
excited to share it and have people see it too. It's like birthing a baby and you finally get to put it out there. So I hope that you guys find that there were some tips and thoughts here, and we've definitely got some stuff that's going to be in the show notes.
Yes, and I'm can't wait to be able to shoot again because I'm just tired of all of my old photos and only shooting in my house right now.
Yeah, there's going to be pent up demand for new content when everything can start easing itself back into normal schedules and normal planning again. It makes total sense
Yeah,
that
we got
there's
to
going to
get
need to
Amber
do that.
Interiors needs to get her house shot. Like we,
I know I've
like
been
everything's
watching.
like holding back.
I know I'm not the only one who's like pausing stories, going like, "Ooh, that looks good in the background of this or
Hmm.
that." Like I know we're all watching all these stuff, and I can't wait for all these shoots. It's exciting to see it out there, and I know a lot of designers are in similar boat where it's just a waiting game for now. Um, but I think it's on the horizon. We
It'll be
just
that
gotta
much
hold out
sweeter.
hope. Yeah, exactly. Um, this week we're trying a new segment at the end where they are surprises both to Rebecca and I. We did not share these with each other, and we came up with kind of just something stupid, but we wanted to do something to test each other because one of the things that Rebecca does every week, you guys, I don't know how many of you make it all the way to the end of the podcast, but after the outro, Rebecca always surprises me with an outtake of something that didn't make it into the podcast or got edited before we were actually supposed to be recording. And it's always something silly, and I look forward to hearing them. So that's kind of like an Easter egg that happens way at the end of every podcast. Is it's just this little outtake at the end of the credits. It's like the comic book movies, like Marvel Universe, like after
Yeah,
the credits.
the end of a Pixar movie.
Exactly. So this week we decided we're going to put some here before we finish. Do you want to start?
Okay, so my category is Kiss, Marry, Kill. So I'm going to tell you three things. This is photo shoot related. I made it
Okay.
thematic. Mine's themed.
Okay.
So you have to choose which one you would. We're trying to be PG. So kiss, marry, or kill.
Okay. PG after I've like dropped an F bomb in the episode, but sure.
We're all adults here. Okay, so this is what would you? Which one do you want to kiss, marry, or kill for photo shoots?
Okay.
A bouquet of red roses,
Oh.
purple hydrangeas, and this is not to say these things are bad, but we all have different opinions.
Uh-huh.
Purple hydrangeas or white carnations.
Oh shit. Okay. Okay, kiss, marry, kill. Uh I I honestly think that I'm gonna kill the red roses. I know that sounds awful, but I can't get past. I'm gonna kill red roses because I could deal without those. Um, I might I might uh marry the carnations because they could be done right. Like you could just do one or two in a bud vase, and then purple hydrangeas kiss. I don't know. They're okay. I've used hydrangeas, but not purple hydrangeas. Like I'm not that Southern home type of
Right.
designer. They work in some places. I see them and they can look beautiful, but they're just not for me. But they're worth a kiss.
Give him a smooch. You know what? I think I
Yeah.
agree. I think we're on the same page with our KMKs.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not mad at that. White I could yeah, I could live the rest of my life married to the white carnations because I could make something cool out of them. They could be mixed in with something else,
They got a
maybe.
nice texture, and I think they have a bad rep.
Yeah, totally. Okay, mine this
Okay.
week for you. This is a who would you rather be quarantined with? So, who would you rather quarantine edition? So, first, who would you rather be quarantined with? Jason Bateman or Jason Momoa?
Bateman, 100%.
I feel like,
Hashtag love.
I mean, okay.
Momoa's
I
too much.
bet,
Like, that's too much tank top for me. Like, I don't need it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to kick Jason Momoa out of bed or anything, but Jason Bateman, I think, would help keep you laughing during quarantine.
Hilarious. Yes,
Yeah.
I need that.
Okay. Um, Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling?
Gosling.
Oh, you're like a romantic then, huh?
Yeah, yeah, The Notebook, like, is still a part of my heart, and he's just got, like, that slow burn energy I'm into.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds might burn quickly and brightly. Like the
Like, too
humor and the
much.
joking could get like tired at some point, and you could be like, "Yo, bro, like go in the other room for a minute."
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
okay. Um okay, one more. Mark Ruffalo or Mark
Mhm.
Wahlberg?
Ruffalo.
Uh
I'm like, no hesitation on these. Are
rough.
we, like, opposite on each one?
I am with you. No, I am with you totally on Mark Ruffalo all the way
13 going on
over.
30? Like,
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I might I might change on yours only that
Jason,
I would probably pick Jason Momoa. I feel like he would be really fun to
you
hang
want to be
out
his
with.
Khaleesi?
Oh man, he could get it. Um anyway.
Yeah, it's just
I
just a
mean, that's
bit
not
much.
all that can happen during quarantine, but if I'm gonna have to be locked up with one other person for a while, then those aren't some
With
bad
a
options.
crazy Dothraki.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Oh
I
man.
mean, all of them were kind of no one was like a hard no.
None of them were like a Sophie's choice
No.
either. Like, I mean,
Not for
okay,
me, but I
so
did have strong opinions about each of them.
okay, good. So that's just a little bit to lighten the air before we go. And you guys, I really think this week was a fun way to get you thinking about how to plan for your photo shoots coming up. But in next week's episode, we're going to be focusing on self-care, tips, techniques, and ideas that we've been using to help keep ourselves um, sane-ish, because we're
Yeah, and
not,
what
neither of us are really, but also just how are we taking care of ourselves and our families right now?
where are we struggling and where do we want to do better? Like,
Yeah, it's a keep it real session, that's for sure. And we'll jump into how are we helping ourselves, where are we finding we have it. We would love to hear from you, how you're doing it.
okay, then join us next week for the next meeting of the Hot Young Designers Club.
Yes, meeting adjourned.
Thanks, Shaun. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Rebecca.
Thanks for joining this meeting of the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Check out the show notes there for links to things we talked about today.
We are keeping the conversation going on Instagram, so don't forget to like, comment, and follow at Hot Young Designers Club.
You can find Rebecca on Instagram at Studio Plum.
And you can find Shaun at Renstead Interiors. That's WRENSTED.
And Desmond has hair all over his ears.
Yeah, he has long, glorious hair.
And curly. Sometimes
He's got-
I touch his tail and it goes all.